and welcome to SciShow Talk Show. That day on SciShow where we talk to interesting people about interesting stuff. Today we're joined by Kallie Moore.
Hello.
Of Eons.
Yes.
And also the Paleontology Center at the University of Montana.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. How are all the rocks?
They're good. Yeah, they don't eat much, so it's pretty easy. Keep them contained and controlled.
So Eons has been fantastic to work on with you. I am a big fan of our show.
Me too. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
I learned so much.
I know, and I'm like in the field, and every time I'm reading a script, I'm like, what? Sometimes I know it, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah, sometimes I know part of the story, but I didn't know the whole story.
Yeah.
And still we're learning new things.
Right? It's so great. I'm really excited about some of our upcoming episodes.
Well,
too.
what's going on with Eons right now?
Oh my gosh. So if you saw some of our episodes that came out in April, you saw that we have merch now. So you can go get a shirt to match your t-shirt and your poster, which I think the poster is like the coolest thing.
Go to Michael's and get a frame for it. It's art.
It is. And it looks best in a white frame, I've found. There you go. The coolest thing ever that blew my mind, and I'm still way too excited about it, is we are collaborating with the Smithsonian, the National Museum of Natural History, and they are reopening their Deep Time Hall. It's been completely renovated, and all the mounts are new. Well, they're not all new, but some of them have been repositioned. We are doing an episode kind of in conjunction with the opening that is on June 9th. So our episode's going to be all about evolution and like how it works and why we know it works that way.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing is we got to film there. We got to go. We got to see the whole Deep Time Hall before it was open. And it was really nice because once it's open, there's going to be huge panes of glass in front of like all of the big dinosaurs. Those panes of glass weren't up yet.
So you just got to poke everything.
I didn't touch anything, but I did get my camera
really close to
uncomfortably
stuff.
close. Yeah, probably for the Smithsonian people. For that episode, we got to go into the ornithology collection, and then we got into the bird collection.
Yeah.
And like...
That's the thing. When you're in the... everything is just, 12 feet deep of interesting.
I know.
Whenever you're in
we could have spent days just looking around in there. We filmed a bird that was collected by Darwin, and we filmed other birds that were collected by Wallace. Randomly, I got to see giant auk bones. So, giant auks are, the saddest extinction story, I feel like. Oh, it breaks my heart. But anyways, I've never seen their bones. So I saw wings and a skull from one of them, and passenger pigeon, and ivory-billed woodpecker, and, all these extinct birds. You don't get to see those. Yeah. Obviously, they're still dead and they're pelts, but...
you still don't get to see them. No. For clarity.
Yeah. So we got to do that. We got to interview some of their researchers there in one of their 8 libraries. They have 8 libraries. Mm-hmm. It was just an incredible experience. Awesome. But the coolest part is we're going back and doing a live stream after it opens. So we're going to do a walk and talk through the exhibit after hours with the curator of paleontology and talk about some of the exhibits there and take questions from the audience. And
that's so cool.
Oh, man.
I feel very legit. I feel like Eons is super legit.
We are in legit mode now. We are 100% legit with working with the Smithsonian. Yeah. So our live stream is going to be June 14th.
Okay. I saw, though, also as you were walking in, that you brought a box of something.
I did. I brought some things. So we have an alumni that is working in Nevada, and he collected over 400 specimens. We have a lot more material from that same area, and so he sent it all to us. And so I brought a couple pieces in, because right now we're working on processing 400 plus specimens, so it takes a little bit of time. But I thought I'd bring some in, show you some fun stuff from Nevada.
That got dragged out of the ground there?
Yeah. So here's one. I'm sure you can identify that.
I mean, it's an Ammonite.
Very good.
But I don't know anything more than that. And we should probably explain what an Ammonite is. It's like a weird cephalopod squid thing with a shell on it. Yeah. On the outside. We don't have them anymore.
Nope. But they're really similar to our modern nautilus, kind of overall shape. But they live a little differently. So all of these are from this publication. This is one of the best written publications. It's so good. Thank you, Andrew Carruthers. If you're watching this, you did a beautiful job. Mainly because of this massive list. And so these are all the specimens that are in this publication. And there are just pages and pages. But yeah, so these are from the very, very early Jurassic. Right after the in-Triassic extinction event, which is significant. So for a while, we didn't know kind of the recovery rates of some of these creatures, who survived, who didn't, because it was a pretty bad mass extinction. And so anytime you find anything from the early Jurassic, it's kind of significant. And there's an area in Nevada that's just full of early Jurassic. So this is Plains Bachian, most of these. That's the age within the Jurassic that these are. This tells us a lot about recovery, who survived, who is going to speciate from there throughout the Jurassic. Obviously, all these guys go extinct by the end of the Cretaceous. Kind of on their way out, but they recover and then they're done.
They made it through. But they got critically injured in the process.
Yes, they did.
And so then Nevada would have been in the ocean at that point.
Yep.
Where would it have been?
We're still pretty close to where modern continents are, but we do have, let's see, Western Tennessee, we hadn't started yet. So this is before a lot of post-accretion of the Pacific Northwest, but it's still low in the Southwest.
Okay.
So there is water. But anyways, yeah, so definitely underwater during this time. There has been some ichthyosaur bones found in these areas as well. I think they're a little bit younger into the Triassic in some of the beds out there. The other thing, so this specimen here, this is the actual Ammonite. This is the individual, but this one here...
It's like a print.
Exactly. And so for the publication, we have to make one of these. And so the publication actually has this piece figured because this is just an imprint. So if we make a cast of it, then we have the shell, the opposite.
How on earth do you identify an ammonite? It's just a shell. It's just another spiral shell.
It is another spiral shell, but there are a lot of things. Once you look at ammonites, you start to see a lot of differences. So these two are actually the same genus, but a different species. And so there can be differences within the whorl pattern. Okay. So how many of these little ornamentations there are. So you can see on this one, they're much smaller, closer together. And that one's a little bit wider. Sometimes if they're really well preserved, you can actually see the suture pattern. So that's where the internal wall meets the external wall, and it can make that real kind of dendritic pattern on the outside. Those are very characteristic of certain species. How much they curl, sometimes these ammonites didn't curl up all the way tight. They made a lot of different shapes and sizes. So it's a lot of little things.
I don't think I've ever seen a live nautilus. Why don't they have them at aquariums?
I've seen them in aquariums before. I feel really bad because don't buy nautilus shells, everybody. Please don't buy them because we're losing them in our oceans because everybody wants one for their bathroom. Yeah. Just no.
There's lots of shells.
Just on the beach.
Yeah, or you could get a ammonite. Just get a dead one that's been dead forever.
For a long time.
They're available at the fossil store.
Yeah, you can buy ammonites pretty cheaply and easily at a lot of places. Yeah, and put that on your wall. And then it's more of a conversation piece instead of, I'm destroying a natural population. You can be like,
something died for this. No, it's already dead. Very dead.
Very dead. These are very, very dead
Not coming back.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah. You want one?
I mean, kinda. It would be cool to see what they look like because we don't have a lot of the soft body of these guys. So reconstructing, they looked like a modern nautilus, but they're obviously different enough. There was something fundamentally different between them that one group went extinct while the other didn't.
It's interesting with things like, of course, ammonites are super helpful in that we can learn a lot about what time period sediments come from and because they had hard shells that stick around. Whereas, so many things preserve much less well.
Yeah, these guys were prolific. They were everywhere, and they changed relatively rapidly. So the structure of their shells changed, and the ornamentation changed. Those suture patterns changed over time. So you're exactly right. We can use these as index fossils. So a lot of times, even in this publication, they have not only the period, Jurassic, and the age, Plains-Bacchian, but they also have an Ammonite zone of where these are found, because there's certain ammonites that are only found within that tiny little zone. That's how great the resolution on these ammonite evolutionary patterns are. So it's incredible with these guys. I think forams are probably the next best, or really right there with them, and conodonts for a really tiny period of time.
Yeah, prolific and create something that doesn't easily decompose.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And we got a lot of them.
And you can buy them.
Yeah.
And like this has always been a thing where I'm like, should I be able to buy a fossil? But like, there's so many of them. They're just rocks.
There are a lot of them, and you know, it's tough too, because I get there too. I'm just like, oh, should we be buying and selling this? You know, does buying and selling an ammonite take away from these $1 million dinosaur specimens? You know, are we devaluing them in people's eyes? Just selling them, and it's a knife edge. I have a hard time with it, because on one side I'm like, yes, I'd rather have you buy one of the 1 million known of this species of ammonite. We're not going to find anything else about it from that specimen that you got at a rock shop, and it's keeping you from buying a modern nautilus shell. And, you know, and it's encouraging conversation about evolution and the ancient past, you know. But then on the flip side, it's like, oh, but it's a fossil, and they should
just be held sacred and only be used scientifically.
Yes, but then
I mean, at the same time, like I feel the same way about like all rocks. They're all beautiful. They all tell us something about science.
I know,
but like also they're just for ornamenting my garden.
I have fossils in my garden.
Do you have got a rock in your wedding ring?
I do have a diamond, but this one's even cooler because it's a meteorite.
See? You're so non-objective. You're just like you have a meteorite on your finger, but you're worried about ammonites?
And I know space rocks are pretty rare in of themselves.
Pretty rare. More rare than ammonites.
Exactly. So again, I don't even know.
What's on your neck?
This is a tektite. So this happens when a meteorite hits the ground and it creates glass, basically. So this one's from somewhere in Germany. I think Moldavite is its technical name, and there's a lot of it. And it's from the Miocene, an impact that happened in the Miocene. And this one is from South America, and I can't remember the age of the impact, but there's a ton of little bitty chunks of it everywhere. And the government has a thing that you can actually mine it and sell it. Because most meteorites you can't just pick them up and sell them. So.
And I mean, that's the other thing to know with fossil hunting is that like sometimes they're mined like anything else, and sometimes that mining is bad for the place where.
Exactly.
And so like that is something to keep an eye on. It isn't like completely values neutral for sure.
Yeah, probably the worst right now environmental impact is the permafrost. So people are going out with like high pressure water cannons and getting rid of the permafrost faster than it's thawing to get into all the mammoth remains and the woolly rhinos and the this and the that. And so they're actually creating quite a bit of just erosion, just trying to get those bones and stuff out. So it's like,
get them now while they're still cold.
Can you believe the Explorers Club ate frozen mammoth?
I did not hear about that.
This is like back in the 1800s, because you don't do that this today. But back in the 1800s,
they cooked up some mammoth?
Frozen mammoth.
I bet they didn't even cook it.
They cooked it.
Okay.
They cooked it. And they were like, it tastes like freezer burned meat.
Yeah, I bet.
Duh.
I bet it doesn't taste great. I can bet that.
50,000-year-old frozen meat. Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get some awful parasite. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because you could have ended humanity. You could have contracted an ancient disease.
I know. And people bringing back ancient critters and plants. And I'm like, you don't even know. You don't even know.
But would you eat a mammoth steak if they raised one up for you to eat?
No, I'm a vegetarian already. So probably not. And I'm like super against bringing back the mammoth.
Right.
For ethical reasons.
Right. Well, then you do want us to kill them.
Kill what?
If they bring them back.
I don't want them to bring them back, period.
But once it happens, you got to eat them then to get rid of them.
No. Drink my water. Sit on my high horse of mammoth.
You vegetarians with your meteorite rings.
I know. Destroying the environment one meteorite at a time.
That's right. Hey, do you want to hang out with an animal? I don't even know what it's going to be.
I do, and I'm really excited about it. Mm-hmm.
There's a funny noise coming from your purse.
Sorry about that. Is it disturbing you?
I like get my mic close to it.
I know you can hear him. So that is not a happy noise. I mean, it doesn't sound like happy noise. No. It's so she is giving a warning. She's saying, whatever you are that's coming close, stay away because I'm
sleepy.
Scary. She is, and the reason she's doing it is because she's sleepy. This is Tickles the hedgehog, and her instincts tell her to do that whenever something disturbs her. Mm-hmm. So her muscles on her back flex, and she crisscrosses all of her spikes, and she makes that warning hiss. Because while she does have an excellent sense of smell, she has a terrible eyesight. She's quite calm. If she was very upset, she would be rolled up into a ball and she would not be showing her head right now. But look at her little nose going. She's just, she wants to discover things. What do you think? Would you like to hold her?
Sure. Okay. Would you like to be held by me?
So, you know what those spikes are made of, right?
Keratin?
Yeah, it's just modified hair. And so she's a mammal, and they have this really neat ability to grow this really thick, pointy hair out of their back. Do you have any idea what this creature is related to? What do they remind you of?
They remind me of a porcupine. I'm about to sneeze. Here.
She'll probably
I didn't want to scare you. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to happen. I don't want to take the risk.
She would probably roll into a ball really fast, poke you a little bit. Would you like to hold her?
I'm allergic to hedgehogs.
You might be. There's a lot of smells going on in here right now.
Yeah, so a porcupine.
Reminds you of a porcupine, right? Because of those spikes. But they're not related to porcupines at all.
Oh, at all. That happens separately.
Yeah.
Convergent spikes.
Convergent evolution. Doing good? That's
I like when I can't see the front of it. It does not look like an animal.
It looks like a sea urchin. Yeah. Looks fake. And when you touch her, that instinct of jumping and poking comes in to play. I can push on her quills. And while it is pokey, it feels like I'm touching a brush.
Right.
Like a hairbrush. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to stab into me. And obviously none of them came off into my hands. Mm-hmm. And so her spines, you could call them spines, spikes, quills, hair.
I've never held a hedgehog.
Oh, that's awesome. She's a little pokey, right?
She's a little pokey.
She's a little pokey. And when she's moving around and pushing on you, that's what
Where are you going?
Where are you going to go?
Anywhere.
It is really weird. It does feel like a hairbrush.
Yeah, almost plasticky too. So I'm going to roll her in here so you guys can see her little face here.
Oh, that's dumb. That's just too good.
Oh my gosh.
So these quills, and when you hold her like this, you can really feel that she is much more pokey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're just doing that no problem.
So these quills, they do not come out of her and stick in her predators. And so that's why she does that little jump. She hisses, she jumps like that. Yeah. And she pokes you in. And her quills are not clean. So she'll poke you and then that it hurts immediately, but then it lingers because she covers her quills in her own pee and her own feces.
Lovely.
Lots of germs.
Don't touch your
allergic
face.
to that.
Yep.
Don't touch your face.
And I just touched my face. Also, these guys will go around and chew on any new plants that they find, or lots of different materials, just new novel objects and items. And then they will like smush it around in their mouth, chew it up, make a big saliva, then lick that foamy saliva onto their back, onto their what's called anointing. And they're hoping, I guess, I don't know if they're hoping, but the good thing that could happen from that is that there's lots of toxins in that.
Right.
And so hopefully it's toxic. Just put some poison on my back there. You'll never mess with me again. I'll poke you with it. And they are immune to most toxins. So these guys are not related to porcupines. They're not a rodent at all. They have sharp little teeth. Their closest relatives are shrews and moles.
Well, that makes sense.
So they're insectivores, sharp little dagger teeth, and they eat tons and tons of invertebrates. So worms and other little buggies. So we will bring these guys out to a hedgehog out to a presentation, and the kids are like, "It's a porcupine," and I'm like,
"No, not even close."
Right.
And porcupines are rodents.
Porcupines are rodents. So I actually have another guest. If you would like to say goodbye to Tickles.
Goodbye, Tickles.
Tickles is like, I will say goodbye with my
You are just a sea urchin now.
All right, so before we put her away, I'm going to do a little test. I'm just going to add this little cloth here, and we're just going to touch her.
Okay, what did we do?
Just that. Okay. All right, so go ahead and put her back.
Tickles, do you want to go back in your crate?
She's like, I love my crate. It smells like me. Would you like to meet our next guest?
Not to make eye contact.
This is Kemosabe. Oh my God. And this could be what you're allergic to. He has very potent pee.
Okay.
And that could be an issue with you. Hi, buddy. Would you like some of this banana?
He's like, heck yeah, I want some banana.
I want banana. Oh, one tooth.
Oh, this is too much. Kemosabe is the best.
So he is a prehensile tail porcupine. There's many of those guys. He's called a coendu, and these guys are rodents. So he's what we call like a New World porcupine. And so all these rodents came over. Well, I guess just one, maybe. There had to be more than one. A bunch of them came over from Africa, and then they populated South America, and then they just diversified into just so many different kinds of critters. And evolution then created quills all over again. So there are old world porcupines, and their quills look similar, but they are different because of the little barbs at the end of them. And so I did that little test with the hedgehog, and then I have some other quills here that I wanted to do that test with too. He's nomming down there. He'll take a while on that banana there. He only has one tooth. He's working as hard as he can. Okay, so I have a quill from African crested porcupine. I mean, it's sizable, right?
That's a big quill.
That's a big quill. But if you poke it into this, see if you jab it in there. I mean, jab it in like you're trying to kill a lion, right? Okay, it's hard to get in there. So those will actually be jabbed into lions. The old world porcupines, the crested porcupines will run sideways and impale a lion with that. And so it's deadly. They're very, very strong and quick. Now, hold some of his quills. All right, so hold those. Okay, now jab those into this. Hard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So that's not, you don't want that.
No, you don't want that. And that's actually came out really easy. Sometimes, though, those must be old ones. But you can see there's little fibers that are stuck in there. And that's the only thing that really gives your eye a clue that something is up with the tip of those.
Yeah, you can't see it at all.
No. If you look under a microscope, it kind of looks like a Christmas tree almost. So it's barbed all around it. And so when the go is in, it actually goes in really easy, easier than the other ones. Did you finish? Hi. And then it just does not come out very easily at all. Here you go. You want to say hi to the camera?
Okay, thanks.
Here you go. Eat it. Okay, so these guys, they're They are a rodent. They're not related to hedgehogs. They are very distantly related to the old world porcupines, and they have their own special quills. And so I just love that.
Yeah, quills just keep happening.
Time after time, these quills are evolving, and they're a little bit different each time. And these guys, they've got it. And the other thing is he's got a prehensile tail.
Yeah,
right?
and feet that are very clearly for climbing trees.
Yes. And so there are other porcupines that have that other toe there, where these guys have this just meaty pad on their foot. When they wrap around trees, it's just a very nice way to grip branches and climb around. And then if they slip, they have their tail as a backup.
I mean, quills are amazing to me because you're like, yeah, that's definitely advantageous, but I also feel like being covered in quills would be just annoying. Like, I have enough trouble just with the hair in my eyes, but like, just swords all over my body?
Sure. He is very careful with his movements with himself, but he can itch himself. I mean, they can procreate. They've got... In order to get those quills into you, there has to be force behind it.
There are moments when you look at this particular animal where something in your brain gets tricked and you're like, oh, hello, hi, how are you?
Yeah, he's intelligent animal, right?
Yeah.
He looks like he could talk to you.
It's the bipedalism. It's the
I'm eating like this, and he just
stuff.
Yeah, the hands. And also the voice. He also seems to be speaking his own little language.
Yeah. So force behind the quills, he actually has to push those into you.
Right.
So if I touch it, it would be pokier than the other ones the hedgehog quills, but he will jam them into you. And the North American porcupines will turn around and jam them backwards into you, or whack their tail into you. And then they get stuck in. But in order to come off of his body, they actually have to be pushed into his body a little bit. So they have to be pushed in his body, and then a little ligament breaks, and then the barbs stick in that animal's skin, and so then the force from the barbs, the grabbing of the barbs, is stronger than it just being stuck in his body anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, it there's a mechanism that intentionally breaks the connection a little bit with the body.
Yes, it breaks it, but then there's also it widens right here, so that's where it's in the skin, and then it widens right there, so it can't be driven down into the skin further than it should be.
Right.
And then comes off, and then those barbs just keep going in, slowly moving as that animal moves around. They go in deeper and deeper, and it could kill the animal. Infection, and these can go all the way into the body. So
it's one thing to say, "Hey, I prevented you from attacking me." It's another thing to say, "And later you may die."
Remember that. And he pees on himself, so that smell goes around. Well, he pees on his branch, and then he walks around in it. But that smell follows whatever animal tried to eat him. And so if there's another one of those predators, like, what's wrong with you? You're sick and dying. They smell porcupine on them, so the next time they see a porcupine, hopefully they don't mess with them. You want to go there? Eat it. He's trucking along with his one tooth. I mean, he makes it work.
Yeah, that's what bananas are for.
Do you want to see if he'll take one from you?
Sure,
he might.
Hi, Chemo. Oh,
yes.
You did it. You did it. He's like, I'm old hat. I was on the second episode of this show.
I know how to do this. I think he's familiar with you too. Sorry.
Yeah, no. When I moved to Montana, I didn't know about porcupines all that much. Like, I knew about them. Like, oh, you exist.
Yeah.
But then I went out to eastern Montana on a dig, and we found a porcupine nest, and it's in a tree, and it's this huge platform of branches and sticks, and it's just huge. And I had no idea that they nest in trees like birds.
They do.
Giant birds.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Is that the good stuff?
No, he's very excited.
So he is not related to hedgehogs, distantly related to old world porcupines, and I just love the diversity of all different kinds of animals, and I love convergent evolution because it shows us time and time again that these things work. I mean, you look at him and you're like, obviously that works, but it's so cool.
But it seems so alien that it's like, that wouldn't happen twice.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, but it happened more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's super cool. We have some porcupine fossils from Montana that are like 13,000 years old. I'm not exactly sure how early we get porcupines in Montana, but
I don't know.
Pleistocene, somewhere in the Pleistocene, we definitely had porcupines. But yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, I want to know, like,
I want to know a lot more about porcupines.
They've migrated up into the colder regions. They had to get fur in between all these quills. And what? Because he has no fur. He has... Find it. There you go. Get it.
He's going to eat the peel, you guys.
He will try to eat the peel. He has no molars. So he cannot chew. He'll gum it and then spit it out.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Kimo Stavi, thank you very much for coming on SciShow Talk Show. It's always a pleasure to see you. I'm glad that you and your one tooth are doing well.
Yes.
Jessi, you can find out more about what Jessi's doing at youtube.com/AnimalWondersMontana, and you can see what Kallie and I are up to at youtube.com/Eons. Thank you all for listening and watching and being here for this episode of SciShow Talk Show. I hope you had a good time.